Hey YouTube, it is I, Will, regular Will, this time, and I'm doing an initial thoughts on Resident Evil Revelations. I've played the demo, and I was like, oh, I can play this game. This is actually the first Resident Evil game that I've owned. I've played the Mercenaries 3D, but this is actually the first Resident Evil game I've ever played. So, just with that in mind, it's been kind of hard for me to play because I'm not sure how to do stuff that I'm used to doing. I'm okay with survival horror as long as it's Fatal Frame. This is a completely different boat by itself. But speaking of boats, the game takes place on a boat, and you get to play as multiple people. I'm currently in chapter 6, and I've played as Jill, Parker, Chris, and Keith. Out of all of them, my favorite right now is Keith because he's funny. And right now, I'm fighting the two zombie guys that were like the shipmaster, who's all like Mayday, Mayday. Yeah, it's pretty badass. I'm fighting two of them. What the fuck? Hello students, Professor Badass here, and well, Will got scared shirtless again. Honestly, that student's one of the worst I've had. Scared shirtless by every little thing. So, who's doing Resident Evil Revelations initial thoughts? Resident Evil Revelations, at its core, is a survival horror game. Survival horror, for those who don't know, is horror that you gotta survive through. They give you limited ammo, limited health recovery items. Everything is so limited that you don't try to kill every zombie, every ghost, whatever. The object is to do enough to get to the end without dying. Resident Evil Revelations does that almost perfectly. They give you limited ammo. They do give you limited health recovery objects. Okay. The only problem is they give you too many options to be able to recover health. If you're brave enough, you can scan every enemy you see to get a recovery item after getting 100% on your Genesis scanner. With the ammo, you can scan looking for ammo. Finding ammo is still limited though. These zombies aren't as scary as you'd think. The other thing about survival horror is popping out and scaring you. Resident Evil Revelations does that decently. So, for other things, the story so far has been pretty interesting. As for Will, like Will, this is my first Resident Evil game. And it's easy to get into. You can play this game without playing any other Resident Evil game and still get what it's about. You don't need prior Resident Evil experience to understand the story of this game, because it goes into flashbacks and it tells you what you need to understand the story. It takes place on a ship in the Mediterranean, and it takes place in the mountains. You play as many characters: Jill, Parker, Chris, and Keith. up to Chapter 6. It's split into several different gameplay as well. At some points it's survival horror, at other points it's like Resident Evil 5, action-packed. The difference in between the two makes it a decent change whenever you change to a different area. You might get sick of the action pack so that it changes back to survival horror and vice versa. The music is pretty good. Honestly, there isn't too much music unless, there's something that's going to scare you or trying to scare you. The, the graphics are good. They're not Metal Gear Solid though. But it's pretty good on the 3DS. The only thing that I've had a problem with it so far is the lag, a very obvious lag, and the control scheme to start. I'm a Metal Gear Solid person. I played Metal Gear Solid before I played Resident Evil Revelations. So the control scheme was really weird for me, because I'm used to moving with the circle pad and controlling the camera with the face buttons, aiming with L, and shooting with R. It's just so much simpler in Metal Gear Solid. But it depends on which game you play first. So, with that in mind, Resident Evil Revelations so far has been a good game. Very good game. So, this is Professor Badass, signing out of this lecture.